The MAGA hosts at the Fox Propaganda Network are not having a good time right now. Jesse Waters is making sexist and misogynistic attacks that just come off as weird as he is. Greg Gutfeld continues to make unfunny jokes as none of his points landed. Jeanine Piro is really just imploding, as we will see later in this show, and it's because they can't land any sort of political attack on Kamala Harris, do their job as a propaganda outlet, but they seem to have come up with one line that they're trying to push right now that really isn't working. And I want to get into all of that. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. The support really goes a long way in helping this show. Now, this new attack that I said that Fox is trying to come up with is that Kamala Harris is too scared to debate because she doesn't want to defend her record or her agenda, both of which are incredibly popular. So that doesn't make a lot of sense. But they're trying to push that Kamala Harris is afraid to do an interview, afraid to debate, all of this nonsense that really doesn't make sense. And it was, of course, shut down by the only one on Fox telling the truth, and that is Jessica Tarlov right here.
So this is pretty standard fare that someone who has run before had policies that they don't necessarily implement while they're in office. And the closest proxy for what Kamala Harris would be is who Kamala Harris was as VP and part of the Biden-Harris ticket. And I understand that that is a problem for some people, but you cannot run from that. You can run from a position you took in 2019. And we've discussed this before. You know, I think that she could do very well to roll the clips, right? Show me what I said, and I'll explain to you about how different it is once you're actually governing, and that you can't get things like that passed. Something like a Medicare for all, for instance. A lot of people wish that we could have great public health care and that you didn't need private health insurance, but they wouldn't go and say you should eliminate private health insurance, and that's how President Biden.
Only a communist would say that.
That's not true.
It
all
is
over
true.
Europe, they're not communists.
We'll be right
and they
back.
But
all over Europe, wealthy people get private health insurance because the other system sucks.
But they're not. But the people who advocate for public health insurance are not communists, and a lot of people do. When I was there, I used the NHS.
It's really strange to me that the folks at Fox think that it's an attack on Kamala Harris that should scare their listeners, that she's moving more to the center, quote unquote. I think that Kamala Harris is embracing policies that have worked under the Biden administration, and the idea that it is a dangerous or scary thing if her and Donald Trump agree on no tax on tips, that policy, for example, which of course Kamala Harris has a much more nuanced set of policy proposals to enact that to make sure that there are no tax loopholes for hedge funds, but that's a whole nother story. But the idea that that's scary, that she's moving to the center when that's closer to them, doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. And the idea that flip-flopping, which she's not doing, but Kamala Harris changing her policy positions as she governs to come up with the most effective agenda, the fact that that's a bad thing, that a politician would say, oh, I have changed my mind and now I believe this is the best way to move forward, is kind of crazy. Why wouldn't we want people to change their tunes and adapt and adjust to make sure that they are serving us, that their agenda is serving the American people best? It really doesn't make a lot of sense. And especially the accusation that Kamala Harris is a flip-flopper when that's all that we see from Donald Trump on almost all of his policy positions lately. And that was perfectly summed up by Jessica Tarlov.
When you are competing against Trump, who has a long record of doing... I'm for a national abortion ban. I'm not.
Talk about her.
Well, but I'm talking about the race that she's participating in. And she's running against someone who wants to ban TikTok, then doesn't want to. I'm for a national abortion ban. No, now I'm not. I'm for visas for highly skilled migrants. Now I'm not.
Donald Trump is the person in this world most singularly responsible for the overturning of Roe v. Wade. And now he wants to claim that he was great on reproductive freedoms, and he will be if he's president again, that he's going to protect IVF as he always has, even though his Republican stooges voted against it. That's not even flip-flopping from Donald Trump. That's just straight up lying. And it's the same thing with Project 2025, when him and his staff and his former officials were intimately involved in writing Project 2025. Now he can run away from it, and Fox won't call him out for that lie. That he can flip-flop on a TikTok ban, and Fox won't call him out for that lie. Kamala Harris isn't just wildly changing positions left and right. She has adapted and evolved over time because she's done the work of governing alongside President Biden and knows what are better approaches to policy. Donald Trump doesn't care about policy. He'll say whatever he wants at any given moment, and it's complete projection from Fox to say that that is the case with Kamala Harris. And again, this isn't the only new attack that they've come up with that is complete projection. This idea that Kamala Harris is somehow afraid to do an interview, afraid to talk about her policy, afraid to debate Donald Trump, that they're saying this, that she's somehow scared of him or his questions or his attacks that don't land. It's just completely ridiculous to me. And again, total projection. And that's why Judge Jeanine Piro couldn't even get through the attack without having a complete brain glitch. But let's check that out, and then we'll respond.
Democrats are so upset to tether Kamala to Biden, then why, if the vice president is so irrelevant, is she bringing Vance to her first interview? Bringing Waltz to her first interview.
I was like, I really hope she's not sitting down with JD Vance tomorrow night.
Waltz. Yeah.
Judge Jeanine can't even get through this attack without accidentally slipping up because it's so disingenuous. And I find it so strange that we can completely forget that it is common practice for the person running for president to bring their running mate with them to do interviews. It happens all the time. Right here, we see Donald Trump and Mike Pence sitting down for an interview together. And just recently, we see Donald Trump and his new running mate, J.D. Vance, sitting down for an interview together. Bringing your running mate to an interview is common practice, and to pretend like it's not, again, is completely disingenuous. And this is such projection from Fox. Donald Trump, a few days ago, we didn't know if he was going to do a debate on ABC that he had already agreed to multiple times. He is the one who is scared to face real questions. He is the one who is scared to face any sort of accountability. And so to pretend like Kamala Harris is, because her campaign is being put together so on the fly that they have not yet had time to sit down for an interview, it's just absolutely crazy. And if the reporters who are asking for more interviews or questions from Kamala Harris really wanted to know more about her record, then I'd advise them to look at the successes of the Biden-Harris administration that they don't cover enough, because that is proof of what Kamala Harris wants to do in her term as president. And again, they keep trying to push this narrative on Fox, and Judge Jeanine did right here, and then I want to call out what she had to say.
This would be the first female president in the history of this country. And she needs to drag along the coach so that she can survive this interview. Why? Because she'll probably spend about half the time answering the questions, because once she starts with a word salad, he's going to be able to jump in and save her.
Not only is it crazy to pretend like Kamala Harris is afraid to do this interview, it's also ridiculous to pretend like it's biased. Dana Bash will be the one conducting this interview with Kamala Harris and Tim Walz tomorrow on CNN, and I remember, after the CNN debate, Donald Trump couldn't stop praising Dana Bash, and so did a lot of right-wing media, saying that, of course, it was because she wasn't following up on questions, she wasn't pushing back on Donald Trump, but when that happened for Donald Trump, they were thrilled. And considering this is an interview, not a debate that Dana Bash and Jake Tapper kind of failed to moderate, I'm sure there actually will be pushback. And so, again, this is just such a disingenuous narrative from Fox, especially in the face of Donald Trump's fear to debate Kamala Harris, that it really just looks ridiculous. And it looked especially ridiculous with what Sean Hannity had to say and his attempts to push this narrative.
Take a look at this. Ask yourself, does this sound like journalism or a talk show host?
I want to start by addressing the elephant in the room, sir. A lot of people did not think it was appropriate for you to be here today. You have pushed false claims about some of your rivals, from Nikki Haley to former President Barack Obama, saying that they were not born in the United States, which is not true. You have told 4 congresswomen of color who were American citizens to go back to where they came from. You have used words like animal and rabid to describe black district attorneys. You've attacked black journalists, calling them a loser, saying the questions that they ask are, quote, stupid and racist. You've had dinner with a white supremacist at your Mar-a-Lago resort. So my question, sir, now that you are asking black supporters to vote for you, why should black voters trust you after you have used language like that?
Well, first of all, I don't think I've ever been asked a question so in such a horrible manner. First question.
Trump wins the crowd over. Anyway.
The idea that asking Donald Trump about the things that he said is way over the line and makes you a biased reporter just shows how bad Donald Trump is at this, how incapable of giving answers and being held accountable he is. And so Fox is really just kind of painting Donald Trump as who he is, weak, insecure, and unable to answer questions. It's not Kamala Harris, it's Donald Trump. And that's why Kamala Harris was actually saying, hey, Donald, anywhere, any place, any time, any network, and Trump was trying to run away. So again, complete projection from Fox News, as we can expect from the propaganda outlet, because it is Donald Trump. He is the one who is afraid. And I don't really want to hear this anymore from the media. It just seems so ridiculous, but we are going to continue to call it out every single day on this show. And if you want to support that effort, make sure, as always, to hit that subscribe button, to leave a like on this video. And if you want to go one step further in your support, you can click that join button, become a monthly member. As a college student, the support goes a long way and really means the world to me. And if you stuck around to the end of this video, drop a blue heart in the comments. I'd really like to thank you for your support. And until next time, I'll see you soon.